All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is show you how to save your diet to pages on your iPhone. And that way you can easily pull it up when you're putting your macros together. So this is now on my phone. I'm going to do Katrin's because she's struggling a little bit with planning meals. And I'll try to coach all of you through this. But please reference how I'm doing this, okay? As well as the PDF file I'm putting your macros together for the day. I'm going to add a new macro goal called Katrin, and basing this off of a training day. So I plug those numbers in. I'm just going to swipe back. So I hope you guys know how to use your iPhone and keep apps open and swipe back and forth. So it's very, very quick to navigate around your phone. So I've got those macros in for tomorrow. And looking at the pre-workout, it's 30 grams of proteins, 50 grams of starch, of which 20 grams could come from fruit and vegetables if I want, and 5 grams from fat. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of my favorite meals, just toast with an omelet stuffed with some ham and some ratatouille. And how I cook it is I have a few different little pans, and I'll cook up some ratatouille in one little pan. I'll get the ham cooking in another little ham so it's almost crispy, and then I'll have my egg whites cooking in another pan. So 5 grams of fat's not a lot, and this bread has some fat in it, if you notice. Now, if you use a bread like a baguette that has no fats in the recipe, you're going to get rid of that fat. So it's good to, again, know your ingredients and navigate around a little bit so you can have the meals that you want. So I love this app because I can add all of my ingredients. As you can see, I'm starting with the carbs first, and then I can easily adjust the amounts. So what we're doing is we're creating a meal based on a meal that we love, using the ingredients that we love. And we're using this app to do the math so we can figure out the amounts of each ingredient to hit the macros that you're supposed to hit that I wrote for you for each meal. So I've got the carbs pretty much done. I'm going to go through the proteins now. It's going to be half a cup of egg white and some ham, some deli ham. Deli ham's great because it's a very low-fat protein source. I'm going to try to add some light cheese. And then I'm going to go back and check the macros. So I need more carbs, less protein, and less fat. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of some of that fat. So I do like a little bit of fat in my omelet. So I'm going to play around and see if I can squeeze in a little bit of light cream cheese, if that's a possibility or not. That puts me up a little bit, not too bad. And I still need to bring the carbs up just a little bit. So I'm thinking how I'm going to adjust this meal so it's still delicious, but it hits my macros a little bit better. 68 grams of ratatouille is not a lot. It's like 2 tablespoons. Again, as you're cooking the food this week, pay attention to the amounts of things as you're actually preparing the ingredients so you have a better idea of what makes sense when you're writing out a meal plan and what doesn't. So you are following a diet. Each meal is supposed to match these macros that I wrote for you, following the guidelines as written. So you do need to go back and forth between the macro plan and the diet I wrote out for you. The next meal that I'm going to make for myself is another favorite. It's rice noodles. It's an Asian dish, rice noodles, beef, broccoli, and hoisin sauce. Super easy to make. Rice noodles, guys, take about 3 minutes to cook, which is one of the reasons I love them, and they're very easy to digest. And I just a wonderful meal. So rice noodles, broccoli, some drained beef, and hoisin sauce. And now I'm going to go and adjust the ingredients so that I can get these macros to hit closer to what I need, which is 30, 50, and 5. So the carbs and protein need to be within 2 grams, and the fat should be within 1 gram each meal. And then that applies to the totals for the day as well. All right, so now I'm going to make another favorite meal. Now, I actually had written for Katrin that I want the carbs to come from vegetables or legumes. But this is where you have to also go by how you like to put meals together and what makes sense. And then if I feel that there's a lack of progress in your body recomposition, and I'm looking at your meal planning, and I think that we could improve on ingredient selection, we'll talk about that. But as long as you're making progress and you are, pretty closely sticking to the ingredients that I recommended, we're going to be fine. So one of my favorite meals is in the afternoon, I get a sweet tooth, is a yogurt dish with a little bit of chocolate protein powder, some chocolate sauce, etc. So we need 35 grams of protein, 15 grams of carbs, and 8 grams of fat. So I'm going to add in the yogurt. I'm going to add the protein powder. I'm going to try some chocolate sauce, some little bit of PB2. But I really need to get more fat into this meal and less carbs, and I need more protein as well. So you can see I'm playing around with the ingredients to see if I can get them to move in the right direction. 6 grams of PB2 is not a lot. I still need some fat. I still need some more protein. So I'm checking this out thinking, is this going to taste good or not? And ultimately, I'm like, I just need to have, some real peanut butter in here. Not a lot. This is like, I don't know, maybe a little dribble of fat. I'm going to take the PB2 out because it was bumping my carbs up. And I'm going to readjust everything again and see if that brings me closer to what I need it to be. And bingo, this is pretty close. This is within the 2 grams of carbs and protein and 1 grams of fat. So the next meal again is 35 protein, 15 carbs, and 8 fat. And so I'm going to go right for the vegetables, these last 2 meals. So the first thing I do is just put a huge bunch of vegetables in. 120 grams of ratatouille, not a lot. Again, this is like maybe a little over half of a cup, maybe. I love salmon and ratatouille, so I'm going to try to add a little bit of salmon in. It's high in fat, so I'm going to have to get some of my protein from a low-fat source, which could be shrimp or scallops. It pairs really well, and I would just saute those up 2-3 minutes per side in a spray of cocoa oil, just with some salt and a little bit of garlic at the very end so it doesn't burn. So I've got my salmon, my shrimp, my ratatouille. I'm going to double check that with what I wrote down and for the next meal, and that's also pretty much good to go. So the last meal now that I'm going to have, again, I want to start off with my carbs, and I want to make sure I get vegetables. But one of my favorite things I'm having right now is this salad. So I went back into a previous day's plan. I copied that meal by just highlighting the meal, and then I chose Katrin's day and plugged that in, and now I'm just adjusting the ingredients so it fits her macros, which are 35 protein, 15 carbs, and 8 fat. So the next thing I need to do is look at the day's totals and make sure they fit. So I'm adding a little bit of beets to this salad to bring it up to 15 grams of carbs, and that was a little bit too much. This is not a lot of beets. It's a couple tablespoons of beets, but it has a lot of flavor. This is just a great salad. So if these macros are anywhere close to what you need for one of your vegetable carb meals, just go ahead and go for it. It's so good. One ingredient that's not in here is some sea salt and a little splash of rice vinegar. Rice vinegar, the unsweetened kind, doesn't have any macros, so I sometimes don't put that in. And now I'm just going through all the meals and adjusting them so I can get the protein for the day to what I need it. And now this is perfect. I don't need to be any more exact than this, and I'm just looking at the meals. They all look delicious. So I'm really happy with this meal plan.